Because how are they going to know if that decision is right or not if they're not talking to them, if they're not involved, if those groups are not a part of the conversation or have a seat at the table?
And what are some issues that you care about right now? And have you taken any steps to try to, change those issues?
I think the biggest issue that's on my mind right now is immigration. It's the one that's most prescient. It's the one that is most impacts me personally. And it's also the policy area that I worked most on with my colleagues. And so we worked really, really hard on um, the legislation, how to make sure that it's workable, implementable, that it doesn't necessarily curb law enforcement's ability to protect public safety in a general sense, but make sure that people with masks and people who are unidentified and raids aren't happening in our state and by our local state and county law enforcement, which is the biggest challenge that we're facing right now. Is that's what's happening. People are being disappeared off the street. And so we are trying to find ways to at least dampen the impacts of the federal administration on our immigrant populations. But there are things we can do at the state level, and we are working very hard to make sure that those things are happening.
And while like creating these bills and things like that, has the Maine House of Representatives like talked to people in the immigrant community to like get some maybe data or ideas of what like bills should be created?
So, I mean, those bills came from the immigrant community. That's not to say that the legislature could do better, because it can. And I think that a lot of our government and our establishment can do a lot better about being more open and having more open dialogues and discussions with the immigrant community, because what I've been witnessing is that I don't think that's happening as much as it should be. And I'm advocating very hard to make sure that that's happening going forward, because this is the problem that I had with government from the beginning, from when I was a kid, is that they make decisions for people who are not represented in government. And that's a huge problem, because how are they going to know if that decision is right or not if they're not talking to them, if they're not involved, if those groups are not a part of the conversation or have a seat at the table?